Hi, my name is Lewis Cox. I am but one of many individuals that keeps the wheels of the Dreamcast Junkyard turning, and you are listening to the SEGA Lounge.
Welcome to the SEGA Lounge, where we celebrate our love for all things SEGA, including the games, the music, and the community. I'm your host, KC. Join me as I talk to different guests and learn more about their projects and passion for SEGA. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 201 of the SEGA Lounge. We're back down to earth after the high of celebrating episode 200 last week. If by any chance you missed our special edition of the SEGA Lounge, please do yourself a favor and check it out in audio or video form. The video recording is available on our Twitch channel. Oh, and feel free to subscribe to our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/thesegalounge. Last week, we really had a great time, so I do hope you check it out at some point. But that was last week. What about this episode? It was about time I had this week's guest on the show. The current head of the Dreamcast Junkyard is a connoisseur of Sega's 128-bit console, but his story of how he ended up getting so involved with the console and the community around it is worth telling. Lewis Cox is on the show this week, and among other things, we also discussed the indie and fan translating scenes surrounding the Dreamcast. Stick around for a great chat with a wonderful guest. Hello, Lewis. Welcome to the SEGA Lounge.
Hi, thanks for having me. I love the show and I've been listening for a long time, so I'm really excited to be on. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you on. Yeah, really long overdue talk with you, I would say. And we were talking before we started recording. What really made me finally invite you you are so I do say this to a few guests. I have a list that I redo every season of potential guests, and so some people are on the list like from the beginning of the season. I think, okay, so at some point I'll try to invite this person to come on the show. You are one of those people that, because you've collaborated with the show several times, you've been on quizzes, you recorded segments for our best of the year episodes and stuff. So you've been on the list, and since you're now, as I'm sure we'll talk about, are now basically in charge of the junkyard, I thought it would be nice to have you on the show, but for one reason or another, never really asked. So what really prompted me to finally do it was listening to one of the episodes of the Dreamcast, the DreamPod, your Junkyard podcast. You were talking to Edwin Dickinson, who's been on the show, and was saying, "Oh, it was really nice. I went on the SEGA Lounge, and then I got a seal of approval that KC sent me and stuff." And you're like, "Oh, I never got one of those." And I said to myself, "Okay, let's fix this. Let's rectify this situation ASAP."
Yeah, you know what? When I said that, I think it was like half in jest, but like the fact that it's landed me a spot and promoted me up to the further up your list is brilliant. I'm so happy to be here. So yeah, thanks for picking up that little fishing line that I threw out there. Thank you.
Well done. Good job.
Yeah.
So Lewis, very nice to have you. I always like to start from the beginning. So, and we've never really had a chance to talk about this, at length. So how did you get into video games? How did it all start? Because that's the beginning of everything, right? It's the love for video games. So how did it all start for you?
Yeah, so I think I was very privileged to have, I suppose, is quite a rare thing. But my granddad was always into games. Like, you know, I'll get the sad bit out of the way. Sadly, passed away at the end of last year. But like, you know, all my life, he played games. He played, you know, from what I recall was, you know, PlayStation. There might have been stuff earlier than that, but I can't really remember. It's a bit foggy. And then, you know, last things I remember him playing was like, you know, Xbox One, PS4. You know, his favorite game was Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Like, he was cool.
Oh God, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, like, and you know, he taught me everything about games, and like a lot of the habits I have in games are still from like watching him play. Like, he's always, you know, if I was playing a game, he'd come in and like watch me, be like, "No, just take a second, have a look around. You might have missed like a hidden item, or you know, just little kind of lessons like that." And you know, I think the one game that always sticks in my brain, other than like the kind of popular things that were on the first PlayStation, like Tomb Raider, was Alundra, The Adventures of Alundra, as it was called in Europe. Like, he loved like puzzle games, and I think he beat that game without any guides, which is amazing because that's like a really hard game. But that was like the first game I remember, and yeah, he had a few different things like throughout the years. Like the PS2 was like the main system. He had a Saturn at some point, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point as well, the Saturn. But yeah, he was cool, and like, you know, that was like my sort of first memories of games. And I didn't really have like a home game console because I think my parents thought like if I had one, I wouldn't concentrate on school, and you know, I think they were correct. To be honest, I would have probably like failed all my exams if I'd have had a game console, probably. But they did get me like the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advance. So like Pokemon, I was like right in the fault, like the moment for Pokemon, and like you know, I played all of those games to death. It's like, if people who know me know that, like, other than the Dreamcast, like Pokemon's my other like big obsession. Like, I love that game, those games, like in that way as well. Like, that kind of like they have like a personal sort of deep, you know, sort of connect. I don't have a personal deep connection to them, like in the same way I love the Dreamcast. And then I suppose the Dreamcast comes into it in kind of the early 2000s, where my friend had one, and I used to go around his house, and he had Power Stone and some other games. Quake 3 Arena was another one, and I remember at the time we'd play these games together, and the graphics and like the fact I could play them with him, and like he had brothers, so it was like 4-player. Power Stone 2 was the particular game I always remember from back then. And you know, Power Stone 2 looks like the anime I used to watch on TV. You know, like Tenchi Muyo and like Dragon Ball and Pokemon, and I was like, wow, this game's awesome. And like, me and my friends are playing it together, and it's like so much fun. Like, if you've ever played, you know, you've played Power Stone, you know how much fun that can be with your friends. And yeah, so that was that I just have that vivid memory of like spending the summer at his house. And unfortunately I moved away, and so you know, I didn't get to play much Dreamcast after that, and like I didn't know anyone who had one. So my kind of moment with the Dreamcast came in, I think it was 2011. Around then, I was in college, and I bought one with like the first job I had. I bought a Dreamcast like secondhand, and then I got all my friends there at college playing it with me. So it's kind of like a second. That was like almost like my kind of moment. Yeah.
Why a Dreamcast? Why a Dreamcast at that time?
Yeah, I suppose, like, not to be sort of negative, but like because there's a lot of great games that was coming out around that time, but you know, the kind of Xbox 360, PS3 kind of era, the Wii was kind of like the outlier, I suppose. But like, you know, there's a lot of like Call of Duty and that kind of thing, very grey kind of games, and
Definitely.
yeah, and I don't know. It was obviously it was expensive with like the money from my first job to buy like a current gen console. So and I started looking up like the Dreamcast, like, oh, I remember, suddenly it like popped into my head one day, and I'm looking up, and I'm like, oh, there's these other games, and I hadn't played a game like Jet Set Radio or Shenmue back then with my friend, so like that was the moment when I was like, hold on, there's like some really cool games on here, and I think I started out playing them on like emulators, and they were a bit choppy, so I was like, I'm going to get my own Dreamcast. And that way I can play, a game like Power Stone 2 with all my friends. And I just remember like they used to come round, we used to play like loads of Dreamcast games together, like it'd be so much fun. And then we'd go to like the pub. So it was brilliant. Like it was some amazing times. And like I know it wasn't like necessarily, back in the day. Back in the day was obviously the friend I had, back in the early 2000s. But in a way, I'm very nostalgic for that time as well. So the Dreamcast almost kind of came back to make me nostalgic for that time as well. So yeah, it was brilliant times.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really amazing. Yeah, but I was just asking why, because there were, like you said, there were more modern consoles. I do agree with your point of view, though. It's like, if you look at things like really objectively, after the Dreamcast, things started getting more gray and bleak and more realistic, right?
Yeah, less arcade kind of stuff as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like we still have Nintendo, I think, in some way as the outlier, as you said, but it's we I think, and I, as a Sega fan since kid, I missed the blue skies that we grew up with, and yeah, so definitely a good decision to go back and buy that Dreamcast. Good job.
Yeah, it was that right time as well. Like you have that kind of I can't remember the exact number, but there's a specific amount of time before people feel very nostalgic about a particular console. And I guess like maybe when I was in college, I was thinking about like all those kind of like colorful games and like I say, like the anime and all that kind of stuff from that I was watching back in the day, and it brought me to the Dreamcast, I guess, and a lot of other retro consoles. Like around that time I was collecting all kinds of stuff, like the Saturn, the GameCube, PS2, boo. But yeah, there was loads of stuff. But so
yeah, I actually remember the exact. I don't remember the exact day when I got my Dreamcast. I do remember the exact day I got my PS2.
That's interesting.
The 11th of September, so September 11, 2002. That's when I got my PS2.
That's really weird, because Tom told me the same story about his PS2, because obviously there was an event on that day that happened that makes him remember, and so he has there's a story told. So it's really weird that that's kind of a similar story.
Yeah. I don't remember. I vividly remember getting the Dreamcast, and I've told this story many times. It's the first console that I bought with my own money. I wasn't really working yet. I had a paid internship, and I had to save money for a few months. So I do remember that experience very well. That's why the Dreamcast is so near and dear to my heart. But the exact day, no clue.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the exact day. Yeah. I do remember it came in a Pampers box from eBay, like a nappy box, and it had a load of games, and a lot of them were like missing the what they call like the hinges on the cases.
Yeah.
And they weren't great games. There's some real duds in there, like Spec Ops, which is terrible. And but luckily at that time on eBay you could get I think I got Jet Set Radio, Metropolis Street Racer, Choo Choo Rocket, and what was the other game? I can't remember the other game. It was 4 bangers for
a pretty decent starter pack.
Yeah. And I got that for it was Virtua Fighter 3 TB.
Okay.
I got it for a tenner off eBay, sealed. That's the kind of stuff you could get back then. Now not so much, but
no.
Yeah, so it was super easy to get your hands on all the best Dreamcast games, especially back then. Still kind of all right now, but yeah, particularly back then.
Yeah. Prices weren't crazy like these days.
No, no.
Yeah, so good stuff. And so the Dreamcast came before the Saturn, then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had played a Saturn back in the day. Particularly remember Virtua Cop. I
Okay.
really enjoyed that. We had two guns, so it was cool. I think you could. I remember playing. I swear I remember playing it two player. But my cousin thought it'd be cool to snip the wires off Virtua gun to use as like a toy gun.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
a million Saturn fans just winced. But yeah, so we had, my granddad did have the Saturn. This is kind of like the weird Saturn story is my my granddad like never kind of like let, for some reason he kind of like held on to certain things, but then every week he'd be at the game shop trading in his game for a new one. So he obviously wasn't bothered about trading in games, but for some reason on his shelf around this time I was getting into like, you know, the Dreamcast and other sort of retro systems. You know, they all kind of come together, don't they? When you get into one retro system, all of them happen at the same time. And he had House of the Dead, Fighting Vipers, Virtua Fighter 2, and Quake just sat on a shelf in his house. And I was like, why have you got these, Granddad? He's like, do you have the Saturn? And he's like, no. Like they were just sat there on a shelf. And I don't know why he'd never got rid of them or sold them or given them to charity or something. But I was like, well, can I have them? Like, and he's like, yeah, like have them. Like, I don't mind. And the story is, I have a relative, like a long distant relative that I've like not really met properly or spent that much time with. And my granddad gave their son the Saturn, and they didn't like those four games because they're too violent. So that's why Quake and House of the Dead got left behind. But you know what? Like those are, again, we were talking about the Dreamcast, the bangers. You know, like I got them, and then like there was a guy I knew at a local shop who sold me a Saturn for like £20 in the box, which is ridiculous.
God, ridiculous.
Yeah.
All the good deals. You got all the good deals.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
I kind of miss that in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. Good times. Okay. And so if I like to ask this question because I'm a really awful person. And now since you mentioned the Saturn as well. So if you could like give me a top 3 for each system.
Oh, okay.
Could you
probably not too hard, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like you know, on Twitter they have all these like, oh, what's your top whatever?
Okay.
I do these all the time. So for Dreamcast, it is. See, this is hard because you're going to make me pick between Shenmue 1 and 2. I mean, probably
I usually cheat. I usually cheat and say Shenmue, like 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Shenmue.
I feel like you said on a podcast. Yeah, you said before it's like the whole experience. Yeah. So okay, Shenmue. I'm kind of a rare occurrence where I kind of like the second one a little bit more because it kind of had all the things I loved about the first, but it kind of makes it bigger. And I loved like exploring Hong Kong. It was very like kind of different to me. You know, there's a lot of like and then Power Stone 2. Power Stone 2 could maybe like edge Shenmue off the top spot because of like the memories attached to it. But overall, probably Shenmue is probably a much better game. Power Stone 2, I know, is a controversial pick.
Don't be objective, Lewis. Don't be objective. Yeah. No. Go with your heart or your feelings.
I'm going with my gut.
Yeah.
Yeah, Power Stone 2 is a kind of an interesting game because it's not like the favorite out of the two. But I just love like the kind of the fact it's 4-player, the kind of moving kind of scenery, and it's just insane. I love that. It's such a crazy game, and so much action going on. And then finally, D2, which is kind of one I came to later because it is an American like import for us, you know, in Europe. So that game, again, another game that's sort of like some people think it's a bit all over the place. I think it's fantastic, like just amazingly atmospheric game. Kenji Ino was just incredible, like as a game designer. And and yeah, I like that's a game again. I remember playing it for the first time and just being bowled over by it, like how good it is. So that is, and then obviously probably an honourable mention for like Jet Set Radio as well. But then Saturn, Nights into Dreams is just like probably if not just Saturn, but like one of my favourite games ever made. I love it so much. Just again, just incredible atmosphere in that game. Like it makes you feel like a child again playing it. You know, it's so
For sure.
it's so kind of whimsical like that. And then KO Flying Squadron 2, which is a game I do not own because it's way expensive. But I got I think is it Pseudo Saturn? Is that what it's called? I was able to like do the soft mod for the Saturn, and so I was like immediately playing that, and then. There is another game that I'm just trying to remember. You know what?
It's one of those back there.
Yeah, probably again another expensive game that I use Pseudo Saturn for. But like Magic Knight Ray Earth is amazing, but also D is great. I love D2, and D is one that obviously it's not quite as it's an FMV game, but it's like it's taken me a while to like appreciate how amazing it is, and yeah, so maybe like D is my third one probably. I'll probably think later like, oh, I should have said that instead, but I'll go with that as my third.
What I find is not really my first pick is usually Shenmue, but the number 2 and 3 are constantly changing. Like, and if people, I feel like it's easier to do like a top 3 than maybe a top 10 or something.
Yeah, definitely.
I just recently did a top 40 Sega songs for one of my shows, and I how do you narrow it down to just 40? First of all, and then
especially with music, yeah,
exactly, and then how do you put them in the correct order? Why? I decided to just throw the logic of the top 40 out of the window and just like go with maybe the top 5, top 10 around that was really in order, but then just like maybe let's not put all the Shenmue music here. Let's like sprinkle them throughout the chart and to make for a better show, better radio show.
Yeah.
Right.
But I do not envy you for having to come up with that list.
Yeah, it's constantly changing because like memories come back from times when I played a certain game and then I remember, oh, that song, I should have included that song. Even today, I was thinking about that and think, oh, I should have included that game or a song from that game or something. So it's really hard and subjective, right? It's
absolutely, yeah.
I
think I did all right then. I think I did okay.
I think so. Great picks. I need to play the D games because people always say they're great games, so should try them at some point. Okay, so going back to the Dreamcast, and you're now we've had Tom Charnock on the show before, good friend of the show as well. Many people from the Dreamcast Junkyard. You're now you've replaced Tom like as the lead of the Dreamcast Junkyard. I know you don't like to say that. You feel like you're part of the team, right? But someone has to lead and to like the drive things forward and motivate people to do their stuff. So how did that come to be, and what does that really involve on your day-to-day life?
So it's it's like admin. That's the best way to describe it. It's doing admin. So it's like running social media. Mike does assist me with social media. Mike Phelan, who you had on recently, and like I edit the podcasts as well, and like I edit the blog post, but I do have assistance with that from an awesome dude called Loz, who's a great contributor to the Junkyard. And like I wouldn't consider myself like the boss or whatever. I literally just I'm obsessed with running. It's like a real fun hobby to run the junkyard. And I was like this when Tom was around. Like I was always like, oh, like what should we do for the next podcast? And really planning things, getting kind of trying to motivate people to do some cool stuff and coming up with ideas. And so like I kind of just do the boring things. Like I say, like keep the blog sort of maintained and do social media stuff. So it's kind of boring, but also like as a fan, it's kind of like like I was a fan of the Junkyard for many years before even joining it. And it's pretty awesome to just be involved in any capacity. But it's cool to, I guess, being so kind of down and dirty with like the kind of day-to-day running of it, I suppose, rather than just kind of being in the background. That's the kind of way I like to be, I suppose.
Yeah, to get involved. That sounds great. Yeah, awesome. And since you've mentioned like getting involved in doing things, are there since when have you been around the junkyard, like as proper part of the team?
Yeah, so I joined in. I want to say 2018.
Okay.
Like I'd known Tom kind of on social media because I used to run like a website called Alt Mag, which you can't find anymore because I've taken it down, at least temporarily, to kind of rejig it. But like I ran that for like many years, and I get Tom like, I didn't realize, but he was kind of reading my articles. When I'd put them up, and one day he just invited me on, like to be part of it, and and then I suppose it was the beginning of this year. He decided he wanted to take a step back and just do other stuff, and unfortunately, when you're kind of, I mean, maybe you feel like this with the Sega Lounge. It's like when you're running something. There is kind of sometimes that kind of pressing kind of obligation to just, I've got to keep it going. And, at some point, with Tom, for example, like I think it gets a bit kind of like, am I doing this because I love it or because I feel like I have to do it? And, I was glad to be able to take that kind of burden off Tom's shoulders so he could just kind of do what he wants to do. Even now, like if he ever wants to just come back and write an article, like that's amazing. Like he's an incredible writer and very influential to myself and my writing style, that kind of dry sort of British video game magazine kind of humor. It's great to be a part of it.
Yeah, I'm sure he appreciates all the help that you guys, and the fact that you guys keep the junkyard going as well, right? Because I've had that experience with Radio Sega. I at some point was in charge of Radio Sega, and then I started feeling a little bit like Tom, right? It's too much. There's life. There's our jobs and other things that we want to do sometimes, and we lack the energy. So at times we feel like it's not really something that we're enjoying. It's more like a proper job that we have to do. And so taking a step back, but knowing that whoever stays after us will keep the thing going and maybe even make it better. That's the best feeling in the world, because which is the case for Radio Sega. For example, I have complete trust in the team, and I know they'll keep the station going for years to come.
Yeah. Still going strong is Radio Sega. Love it.
Yeah,
love to see it. And like that, it was actually the whole like thing of me taking it over from Tom was actually just inspired by a chat I'd had with the guys from Shenmue Dojo. That site's changed hands many times. More so than like I didn't realize how many times it had changed hands over the years. But that's great that it's like still that that huge Shenmue fan site that's so important to us as fans is still able to continue. And that's the same with the Junkyard. Like a lot of people, like I say, talking as a fan of the website, first and foremost, like it's a site that like, just made me like love the Dreamcast even more, and it's a lot of people see it that way. A lot of people love that website, and so it's happy to just keep carrying the torch.
Sure. And it certainly is an influential website in the community, for sure. Yeah. So my question was, since 2018, it's been like 5 years, right? Around that.
Wow.
Uh, do you have like a favorite article or favorite podcast episode or something that you say, okay, this is one of my proudest moments as part of the Junkyard team?
Yeah, I think like I genuinely, when I joined the Junkyard, I genuinely never saw myself doing this, but like I got really into sort of doing like deep dive articles, and like it got to the point where I was like, what's my next deep dive gonna be? Like I was always searching for the next deep dive. It kind of became like a thing, and so like the first one I did was someone put a picture on Reddit of a guy at like an event playing this like weird sort of running. Like the picture on screen was like of an athlete running, and he had like, I think it was like the maracas. I was like, what's this game? And so I did. That was like my first deep dive piece. Actually, PC Wizard 13 actually really helped with that, from some chats on Twitter, and it turned out it was this project from this Japanese university where they were, basically training up the next generation game devs, and this was not like a fully fledged game, because there was always that point in the sort of research, like, is this game going to come out? And it turned out it was like basically like a student's project. Like he developed this Dreamcast game that used like the maracas and the fishing rod as like an attempt at motion control. That was the most intriguing part of it, like the idea that someone was trying to use those peripherals for something other than what they were, used for originally. And so this was like this student's showcase at this event. So that's like really cool. And that was like my first one, and it kind of gave me like the taste for it. And then I think like the proudest one I've ever done, there's two. One was I interviewed a band who like no one knows, but they're like an emo band called Brave Little Abacus. And I was just listening to them as a fan, and apparently they used to do. Apparently, like I saw that it said that they used to have a Dreamcast as part of their live show. So instead of having a drum kit, they'd play like the drums and the backing track off like it was a TV with a Dreamcast hooked up to it, and they put a CD in the Dreamcast, and that was like their backing. And it actually took like a while for me to get in touch with Adam, who's the lead singer of this band. They no longer exist, unfortunately, but I managed to have this like really amazing kind of interview with him, and that was kind of a cool thing as well, because it kind of was able for me to explore like into something I love, like music, and was able to kind of dive into that as well. And like the best bit was I remember being at I was shopping, and I got this message from him because I'd asked like, could you find any photos of these shows from back in the day? And he was like, oh no, I don't think I'll be able to. And then I got this message, like, I found some photos, and I've got all these like amazing photos. So I had the article written, and I was like really excited to put it out, maybe with just some like sort of filler photos of the band or whatever. And then he comes through with these photos. I was like, oh my God, like that just made it even better. So that's like one of my favorites. And then the other is basically I found out through, I think it was like an image search. I was doing a thing about Kenji Ino. I was going to do like a whole article about like all of his kind of weird things he did during his career. And then I saw on like an image search this picture of Laura, who's the kind of like the main character of DT. He had this whole concept where it was like she was a sort of almost like a virtual actress, so she played roles in games. I know it sounds kind of weird to explain, but what he did as part of this whole like marvelous idea he had was he had a collaboration with High Fashion magazine, which was like a fashion magazine in Japan, and he had her like modeling clothes for quite a famous fashion designer called Yoji Yamamoto. And I saw this front cover, and that was it. That's all you could find online. And I managed to buy the magazine from like one of those proxy sites, and it's this whole like fashion. What do you call it? Like this article. It's like quite a few pages of like this video game character like with these wearing these clothes, and this is before like they did it with like Final Fantasy did stuff with like Gucci and stuff like that like years later. So this is like almost maybe the first instance of this kind of weird kind of phenomenon of video game characters wearing real people clothes. Like it's kind of like I don't really get it, to be honest, but the actual magazine is pretty awesome. And so I scanned all that, and
I remember actually reading the article when it came out, and one thing that I remember was like you put all the covers from the different issues of the magazine, and then the one with Laura really stands out as different, right? So they had like Natalie Portman from Star Wars and stuff, and then okay, here's the video game character in a fashion magazine. Of course, of course.
And so, like continuously, like to this day, like that always gets shared on social media. It's like probably the best article I've done as far as like views. The only sort of gripe I have with like, because people share it all the time on social media, but they never link the article, and it's like just share the article. I love the fact that people have obviously enjoyed it and are like, oh, you want to share it and show people, but it's like just share the article so they can enjoy it as well. Like that's all I ask. Like literally, you can do whatever like with the pictures, but and you know what? Again, it's like talking about that kind of connection to something, like because I was so proud of that article. I actually initially sold the magazine. So like if you look on the blog on that article, the cover has like a blue sun fade down one side. And I sold that to someone who's like a huge D2 fan. Like their collection of D2 stuff is mind-boggling. Like they have there's like a box that Kenji Eno handed personally to people who pre-ordered it. It's like a collector's edition. It's like really rare, and he has that. And so he was like, oh, I really want this magazine. Like, will you sell it to me? So I sold it to him. And then like shortly like after, I was like, oh, that was kind of cool. Like, I wrote this article about it and people like it. And so in the end, I actually bought the magazine again. And this time it didn't have a blue sun fade. So really I should update the scans. But anyway.
Maybe you should. Maybe you should. Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It's great stuff. We'll talk about a bit more about something else that you've been involved with that I want to know more details about. But we have to take a break, Lewis, because you really wanted that seal of approval, didn't you? So you know what comes next, right?
Oh, okay.
It's time for...
I'm dreading this.
Exactly. It's the dreaded SEGA Lounge Challenge.
Now that you know our guests, it's time to put them to the test. It's the moment we've waited for, and the moment they dread.
Welcome to your doom.
I mean, welcome to the SEGA Lounge Challenge.
It's time. It is time, Lewis. When we set up this interview, you told me, oh, I also like the Saturn, the Dreamcast, of course. So I thought to myself, let's do something that I've done many times. Let's do the Ultimate Sega Fan Challenge, okay? So instead of just focusing on the Dreamcast or the Saturn, we'll have a little bit of everything. Just the music will be more Saturn and Dreamcast focused. Okay, so how does this work? We have 10 questions, or 10 rounds, should I say. 4 of them are music rounds. So I have like short clips of songs from games. And as I said, we're narrowing it down to Dreamcast and Saturn for the songs. And then the other rounds are questions. And you can always pick between an easy question or a hard question. Easy questions for 1 point, hard questions for 2. And I say hard, I don't know. Some of them, especially the Dreamcast ones, are probably not that hard for you. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But it's always up to you. And our goal is usually to get 10 points, right? You can go up to 20, but let's go to 10 is like the, gets the seal of approval.
Okay.
Ready, Lewis. No, you're not. Don't answer. Don't answer.
As I'll ever be.
Exactly.
You know what? I want to just say this while I'm on the podcast. When I listen to the podcasts that you do, the pause you do before answering the giving the answer, like correct or wrong, is like excruciating. It's brilliant. Like never change it, but like I'm always there, like I can't deal with it. Yeah, that pause.
It's the whole deal with this. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Of course, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, like I say, never change it, but oh man, so tense.
As I usually say, it's half the challenge is dealing with that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we'll do this. We'll start with round number 1, of course. Easy or hard, Lewis? Easy or hard?
I'm gonna go easy for now.
Yes, that seems like the smart choice. What is it?
Yeah,
we'll see. Okay, I have a really easy one for you. You said easy, right?
Yes.
You said easy. Okay. Back in the SEGA Net days of the Dreamcast in the US, SEGA got which popular band to endorse the service by sponsoring their tour?
Oh, that'd be Limp Bizkit.
Pause.
There's the pause.
And the question, are you sure?
Yes.
I like it how you were like, yeah, that would be Limp Bizkit. Are you sure? Yes.
Yeah.
So I can lock it in then.
Yeah.
No doubts about it. Okay. So your answer, Limp Bizkit, is correct. Well done.
Wait.
Well done. Yes, 1 point with an extra long pause just for you.
Thank you.
Good job. So that's 1 point. Well done. Well done. That's a brilliant start. And now we're off to round number 2, which means it's one of the songs that we have here to play, right? So 2 points. You can get 2 points. I'm going to make this a little bit easier for you. If you give me the game, I'll give you the 2 points. Okay?
Well, that's nice. Thank you. Let's hope I get it.
Just give me the game. If you can give me the game, I'll give you the 2 points for this round, okay?
Okay.
10-second long clip. Let's take a listen.
Come on. Yeah, let's get it on tonight. Well, all right. Yeah, know what I'm saying?
What could it be?
I thought for a second it was the music that Tom plays on his boombox in Shenmue, but it's definitely not that. After like the lyrics came in, oh god, you know what? Like
I've narrowed this down to Saturn and Dreamcast only, right? So maybe that helps. Maybe not.
You know what? There's a lot of like games on like Dreamcast especially where like I played them over the years and And then in the last so many, it's just been like obscure games galore, and I've not had a chance to like kind of. But oh god,
let's go. Follow this path of this train of thought. What kind of game would this fit in? What kind what genre? What kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, I was thinking kind of like, on one hand it could be Sonic, and then on the other something like Metropolis Street Racer, even like Daytona, but I've not really played as much Daytona. So,
do you want to listen to it again?
Yeah, let's give it another listen. Yeah,
maybe pay attention to the lyrics as well.
Come on, yeah, let's get it on tonight. Well, all right, yeah, know what I'm saying?
This could have multiple meanings, but I feel if you know the rest of the lyrics, it really is. He really wants to get it on tonight. That's basically it.
I feel like it's Metropolis Street Racer because I know there's like a song in that has kind of a weird sort of
one song. One.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. You know what? Like, it's not like I'm not able to pinpoint exactly the game, so I might just guess and say Metropolis Street Racer.
Okay.
Lock it in. Yeah,
I think it's a pretty good guess. It's a varied soundtrack with lots of weird stuff. There's a song about buying underwear and procreating and stuff. There's a song with nothing but like interesting. Let's leave it at that. Noises made by a woman.
Yeah.
Called Passion. Metropolis Street Racer, is it the right answer or not? So this song is surprisingly called Let's Get It On Tonight. So that's amazing.
I'm thinking it could be Sonic Car, but
don't
has that kind of
No.
Okay.
No, it is Metropolis Street Racer. Yes, it is Metropolis. Don't go with Sonic Car. No. No, it is Richard Jakes as well, but not Sonic Car. A Sonic game and Let's Get It On Tonight. Maybe not. Not. No. It's a pretty intense song.
It's something about like the kind of the way the rapper sounds had that kind of like 90s like
Will Smith, sort of, fake Will Smith.
Yeah, that kind of Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch sort of vibe, and so I think that's why I thought Sonic R last minute, and then okay, good. I'm glad I got it right.
Yeah. It's actually something that I wanted to. I've tried to and need to try harder actually, and haven't done so in a while, but try to get in touch with Richard Jakes for an interview because I really want to know more about this particular soundtrack and obviously some others he's worked on for Sega, but this particular one. I mean, some of the choices. I mean, why and how and.
I don't know. Maybe like cars are like for sort of older people, like teenagers. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to move it in that.
Yeah,
it's not like
yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting. There are country songs, rock songs, like trance, pop songs. It's a really amazing soundtrack. But okay, 2 points. 2 points. Hey. Well done. That's 3 points so far. What an excellent start. So it's time for round 3, Lewis.
Okay.
So easy or hard?
I'm going to go with easy again because I'm boring.
Or maybe you're wise. Okay. Let's go with an easy question. Okay. I always have to include something Shenmue in the challenge. So, in the original Shenmue game, Nozomi helps her grandmother run what kind of shop?
A florist or a flower shop.
Why?
Like why does she help her grandma?
Why do you say that?
Because I was one of those kind of nerds who, I think I thought in the game, if you spoke to Nozomi enough, like they'd be. Well, there is kind of like romantic scenes, but mainly romantic in the sense that she's romantic to Rio and he just doesn't care. But I think I read on like a walkthrough or something, like if you call her and talk to her all the time, it's I don't know, it does, like there's sort of a mechanic in the game that kind of like makes her like you more or something like that. I just thought it was quite cute because I'm a bit of a mushy romantic, and so I was there like trying to talk to Nozomi all the time. So yeah, I definitely know she works at the flower shop.
Could be. That's interesting guess.
Yeah.
Is it though?
Yeah, this is where you tell me that she had like a side hustle at the sushi bar or something. I don't know, and I didn't realize.
It is correct. Yes.
Hey.
Well done. That's 1 extra point, Lewis. You're killing this. It's amazing. Well done.
All going downhill from now, probably. But, yeah.
I don't know. Even if it is 4 points already, that's amazing.
Hey, that's
well
good.
done. Okay, round number 4 is another song. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Ready?
Let's go.
Let's take a listen.
Okay.
So happy.
Yeah. It sounds like a Saturn track, I think.
Interesting.
Like I was thinking also Choo Choo Rocket, but I don't remember that particular. Nah. It doesn't feel as kind of like electro enough to be Choo Choo Rocket. Yeah, I was thinking like some kind of Saturn game, probably like a puzzle game or something, like Baku Baku. That's a bit of an out there pick, though. I don't know if you'd pick Baku Baku. Are these like Sega published or?
They're
random?
all either developed or published by Sega. Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah. Should have said that. Yeah.
Oh. I'm gonna do an out there guess, and it's probably wrong, but it reminds me of this game, and that is Clockwork Knight for the Saturn. That's all I can think of for that music. And
okay,
that's my final answer.
Okay. Are you sure?
Oh God. Yeah.
Should I lock it in?
Lock it in. Yeah.
Yeah. So no turning back now.
No.
Okay.
No.
So you started by saying this is a Saturn song. Saturn.
Yeah,
game.
it feels like that kind of sound, like stuff like the PlayStation has that kind of, I don't know, it has that kind of MIDI sound to it, almost that kind of era. I know.
I wholeheartedly agree. It is, because it is a Saturn game.
It is a Saturn
It is
game.
from a Saturn game. You gave an actually pretty good guess with Baku Baku Animal. It really sounds like Baku Baku.
Yeah.
But it could also
could
also sound, if we think about it, could also sound a little bit like Clockwork Knight. So I mean, yeah.
I'm gonna go with Clockwork Knight.
No, you've decided already. I'm just chatting.
Oh, okay.
I'm just chatting. I'm making small talk. Yeah, and making you more nervous. That's what I do. But actually, Baku Baku was a really good guess, and it really sounds like that. But it is Clockwork Knight.
Hey!
Well done. 2 points. Yes. Good job.
Yeah.
When you said Baku Baku, I said to myself, oh, yeah, this really sounds like Baku Baku.
Yeah. That's a game that, like, I don't know, like, just it exists and I own it for some reason. Yeah, it's
I never owned, like, back in the day, a Saturn. And I had a Mega Drive, skipped the Saturn generation for multiple reasons. But I remember in Portugal, where I'm from, the Saturn was huge until a certain point, much bigger than the PlayStation at a certain point. And I remember going to, like, the shopping malls and supermarkets, and there would be these stations with a Saturn and a certain game that you could play. It was always either maybe sometimes Virtua Fighter 2, but mostly Panzer Dragoon and Baku Baku were the two games
that's so
really
random.
Yeah, that I really associate with those times, with my early memories of the Saturn. And so actually back in, like, maybe 5-6 years ago, a team of developers from Spain wanted to do a remake of Baku Baku, and they went to Kickstarter, but unfortunately it failed.
Oh no.
They even wanted to, like, show Sega that they had the support of the community to do it. But
you know what? I should have backed that. That's a weirdly. I feel like the PAL version of that game is kind of on the pricier side these days as well.
Probably.
So that's a shame.
Probably.
But yeah.
So no Baku Baku HD or remake or whatever, at least for now.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Okay. Okay. So almost halfway there, Lewis. Round 5. Easy or hard?
I'm still going to go easy. I probably will go for easy on all questions.
You're a smart man.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Saturn question. What's the name of the game created by Ed Annunziata, which lets you control a skeleton and was released in 1997 for the Saturn?
Yeah. When you said the developer's name, I was like, oh my god, I'm not going to get this right. But when you said it was where you control a skeleton, it's the answer is Mr. Bones, or I think it's called Bones. Is it just called Bones somewhere else in Japan? Maybe
probably Japan.
Yeah, but Mr. Bones is my answer, and I'm preempting your pause. I'm going to lock it in, but you're going to pause anyway. Okay.
Good job.
Nice.
It was an easy question. Okay, good job. One more point. Yeah. So let's just do the math. Oh, 7 points. Well done. Only 3 left for the seal of approval. Round 6. Yes. Let's go with round 6, which is another song. So can you identify the game?
I want to say that is Skies of Arcadia. I think. I don't know what else that could be. It's like so RPG. Yeah. Skies of Arcadia is my answer.
Okay. Any particular reason why, or just like the sound of it?
Yeah, I've not played the game for a while. It's one of those games where, like, I love it, but I've never, like, finished it, and I really want to go back and finish it. And that's just that kind of it's got that kind of it's an like very RPG kind of theme from what I'm hearing there. But it's got that kind of like very up, because Skies of Arcadia is very upbeat, like sort of in places happy kind of game,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that kind of makes me. It kind of has that like grandiose sort of like we're pirates in the sky kind of vibe. So I'm going to go with Skies of Arcadia. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not even going to ask, right? Because you're going to say yes, lock it in.
Oh,
Yes, that's it. It is Skies of Arcadia. Good job. Wow,
yeah.
9
I couldn't.
points.
I
Amazing.
couldn't tell you the name of the song,
It's the
but
opening theme. It's the opening theme.
yeah, like, I thought. I feel like I was thinking, is that the opening theme? But for some reason in my head it felt different. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
it is. It is. Good job. Good job. You it was your first choice. That's the first thing that popped into your head. Yeah. Good job. Okay. Question 7. Easy or hard? Easy. What I go?
I'm gonna,
You only need 1 more point. So do you want to like risk it and try a hard question? Oh! I should say the last question is always hard.
yeah. Well, I'll just do an easy question here
Okay.
and then do the hard when it comes up.
Okay. Okay. So, have you played like modern Sega games, like post Dreamcast games?
Some.
Some.
It depends what they are. Not played a lot of like the newer Sonic games.
Okay.
I've played like trying to think what I've played. Like I played like Sakura Wars. That was really good.
Okay. Yep.
Um,
Indeed.
and trying to think what else. Yeah, but yeah, I
Okay.
have played the
Okay.
occasional one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, since you're familiar with some modern games,
Mm.
my question is, what is the name of the duo of extraterrestrial rappers who end up crash landing on Earth and going in search of their ship's missing pieces?
Sure, is this Toe Jam and Earl, right? But like, why modern Sega? Isn't that like that's like an old Sega game? That's like Mega Drive, right?
I don't know. I only read the questions here. That's my only job.
Extraterrestrial rappers.
Of
Like, I want to
course.
say Toe Jam and Earl, but that feels like why modern? Did they come? Was there a new Toe Jam and Earl game?
There is a more modern Toe Jam and Earl game. Yes,
There is.
there
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Back
yeah.
in the Groove,
That's it.
funded
So
through Kickstarter
I remember
like
now. Yeah,
a
it's
few
all,
years ago.
yeah. I remember seeing the creator like on Twitter and stuff. Yeah. Okay, I'll go with my answer. Toe Jam and Earl. Then that's my answer.
It's not really that modern, is it?
I don't know. Yeah, I'll just go
Don't
with
mind
that
me.
anyway.
Don't mind me. Just go with your gut.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's right. Yes. The modern thing was just to throw you off. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh, is there like some other characters that like new characters or I don't know.
I
Is
think
there like a rapper in Sonic or
all
something?
aliens should be rappers. That should be a rule.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make things better. Okay.
Yeah.
Good job. 1 point. Very good. Very good. So, can we get a perfect score actually? Well, that would be amazing, but we'll see. Round 8. Round 8. Another song. Ready, Lewis?
Okay.
Yeah. Can you tell me
Yeah.
the game? Let's take a listen.
That's really annoying because I think I know I think it's Choo Choo Rocket, but I don't know why. And I mean, you said this was Saturn or Dreamcast for the music, right? So,
Indeed.
like, I know the song. Like, I've. It's not like it's like a song that is from a game I've never played. Like, I know the song and I've played the game.
Pretty sure you did.
I'm gonna go with Choo Choo Rocket. Yeah, I'm just gonna like trust my gut. I think. Yeah.
You should always do that. You should always do that, even if it's wrong. You should always do that on this show, not in life.
Yeah.
But this is not life advice, just for this challenge. Think things through in life. But here, go with your gut. So your gut tells you Choo Choo Rocket.
Yep.
On the Dreamcast.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, please. Okay. Final answer.
Yeah,
he says. Not really that convinced. Okay. So, your answer is incorrect.
Choo Choo Rocket. Oh.
And it's incorrect. It's Choo Choo Rocket and it's incorrect. It's Res. Area 1. Area 1 of Res.
Yeah, I've played Res, and that is the music from Area 1.
Yeah.
That's annoying because like I'd heard that, I knew that music, and I was like, and I was trying to think of that kind of like spacey sort of electro kind of vibe, and like Choo Choo
Rocket doesn't go this hard.
No, it does. You're right. It doesn't. It's not as like chirpy as Choo Choo Rocket, is it? It's like more kind of trance kind of sounding. But yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But it was a good guess. Either way, you were in the vicinity. So okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So 1 point left still, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Mm-hmm. No, actually, no. Wait. No, you already have 10. I miscalculated, right? So you have 4 correct answers, 1 point, 3 correct songs, 6. So you already have 10. So you're clear. But still, let's see how far you can get with question number 9. Easy or hard? This is the last time you can pick an easy question, by the way.
Yeah, I'll go hard for this one.
Let's go hard. Okay. So, a couple of new ones here, actually. So let's go with this one. Okay. What is the name of the Bonanza Brothers?
Oh, man. Oh. Can you like get these guys in Shenmue like as capsule toys?
Oh, you
but
can.
I can't
you can.
Are they together? Is the question, because I can't.
I don't think so. But I do think you get them, and I do think their names are shown.
Yeah.
Do you want some options?
Yeah. Go on, give me the options.
Okay, I'll give you 3 options. A, B, and C. Option A, Mobo and Robo. Option B, Foco and Loco. Option C, Rolo and Polo. Mobo and Robo, Foco and Loco, Rolo and Polo.
Yeah, I think it's the first one. But that's still probably a guess. Like I know the game, and I remember like I feel like there's one on the Saturn as well of this series, like a light gun game with those characters that I was really intrigued about getting, but then never purchased. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the first option. I feel like you've been very kind to at least to give me some options, and I'll go with the first one. as my guess.
So the first one being Mobo and Robo.
Yeah. What was the? Sorry. What was C? What was C?
C was Rolo and Polo.
No, it's not that one.
And B was Foco and Loco.
See, I can't say it's not that one because it might be, but I'm gonna go with A. That feels like I say, like they may come up. Their names may come up in Shenmue, like because you can get them as.
I think you can get
toys.
them, and the names show up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go with A because that feels right to me.
Okay. Final answer. A for 2 points.
Yes.
Yes. Well done.
You should only give me 1 point for giving me the
I thought
answer.
about that, but let's just roll with it. I'm feeling generous today.
Oh, thank you.
Which means we're down to the last question, Lewis. Okay.
Okay.
Lewis Cox, head of the Dreamcast Junkyard.
Mm.
Community celebrity here. Are you ready for your? Yeah, I would. So, are you ready for your final question?
Yeah, go on.
You currently have 12 points. Can you get to 14? Probably not. But okay. The question is, in the Mega Drive games, the Mega Drive Echo the Dolphin games, the alien race who serve as the main antagonists are called the Vortex. However, in the Dreamcast game Defender of the Future, what is the name of the new threat that emerges? They're called the Vortex in the original games, but then they changed it up a little bit. The story is a little bit different. The race is different. They're still aliens.
Yeah.
What are they called?
That's a game I could never get too far in. I think that's a common issue.
Love this game. Love this game.
Yeah. I love the kind of it's a very beautiful game. I'm always like, I'm not very good at it.
It can get hard at times.
Yeah.
I don't know how I was able to complete it back in the day, to be honest. Have no clue.
Yeah, but definitely a very gorgeous game.
I find myself getting stuck a lot when I replay it these days. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I can't remember this at all from what I did play. My first joke, my first answer was gonna be like climate change or something, like is the threat to the ocean. But maybe just jokingly lock that in as my answer because I genuinely don't know. Yeah.
So climate change is your answer.
Yes.
Are you sure? Is that your final answer?
Final answer, just for the lols.
Just for the lols. Climate change could be actually, but it's actually simpler. A game narrated, and this could be a question. A game narrated by Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor for Doctor Who fans. Your answer, Lewis Cox, is unfortunately and surprisingly, perhaps, incorrect.
Yeah.
The correct answer was The Foe.
All right. The
Foe, right? So
yeah, quite fitting.
Yeah, but quite simple. Too simple, perhaps.
I remember the bit about Tom Baker when you said that. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he narrates the game, actually.
That's really cool.
Yeah, pretty awesome voice. Yeah. So that means, if my math is correct, 12 points. Lewis Cox, 12 points. That's amazing. Well done. Very good. You
went easy on me.
You get the official SEGA Lounge seal of approval, which is amazing. Very good job. And I will send it to you. It is a real thing. As you know, I now know people doubt me. They don't think it's a real thing, but it is a real thing.
Amazing.
Yes. Good job. And thank you. Thank you for taking part in the SEGA Lounge challenge.
You know what? That was a lot of fun. I was worried I'd humiliate myself, but I did okay.
I usually save that for the second appearance on the show. The humiliation.
Yeah.
Okay, so you talked about some of the articles you wrote for the Junkyard. I wanted to mention briefly another interesting bit of work that you did. You worked on the translation, on the fan translation of I would say an obscure Dreamcast game, because it never left Japan. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I feel like with the one thing I've not touched on with the Junkyard is that like it seems to be like you meet someone and then that leads you somewhere, and it I feel like the reason why I know Andrew is because he came on a podcast, and then in the end I got involved like writing for his book, for example, and Tom had read my stuff, and then I ended up on the Junkyard, and then that's how I met Andrew, and then it's like there's all these kind of chains of events, and one of the thing that led me to Nakaruru was like two things. One, Mike Phelan told me about this game, because like when I started chatting with him, he was telling me all about these like obscure Japanese titles and because they're quite collectible, because a lot of these games like Nakaruru, which is the game I was involved with the fan translation of, they have like collector's editions as the standard edition, and I believe it's like the reason they did that was to like get people, I guess, to purchase it maybe over the PC version at the time. And it has like a figure in the box and everything. So he was talking to me about that, and I was like, "What? There's a Samurai Showdown visual novel." And one of the things that people who know me know is that like I quite like visual novels. They're not like popular by any means, but I like the idea that you can kind of like read a story and like change the narrative, like kind of like a choose your own adventure game almost. And I love, I watched a lot of anime. Not so much now, but like, I'm impartial to kind of like anime kind of, games and stuff. I love Persona and stuff like that. So like, I like visual novels for that kind of reason as well. So I saw this Nakaruru, and then I get, like I say, the chain of events. I met Derek Pascarella, the hacker translator extraordinaire in our community. He kind of just popped up one day with an Evangelion translation for the typing game, another obscure game on the Dreamcast. But and it got to the point where like literally like every other month I was covering one of his works, because he's so like got so much energy for this stuff. The work ethic he has is incredible. But obviously it was only a matter of time before we got him on a Dream Pod. So we got him on a Dream Pod, and he was sort of telling us the process of how, in this instance, when he came on the Dream Pod, he translated Sakura Wars Columns 2, and that was with a bigger team. So some of his stuff he does by himself, but then with this he had a bigger team. So like we were talking about like this kind of assembly line process of translator translates, and then an editor edits, and then Derek will hack that into the game into English. So after that I was like, hey Derek, like I got on with him anyway from just chatting to him for like so long, through just being in the community with him. Always thought he was a super cool dude. And he mentioned he was looking at like some visual novels because he wanted to find another Dreamcast game that was compatible with the keyboard after Evangelion. And he found Nakaruru, and he said, "Oh, I'm thinking about this one." And I went, "Yeah, sign me up as your editor immediately." Like, I want to be part of this. And to cut a long story short, it took, I think it was a year and a bit, I think, to complete. And the people I worked with are incredible. There's a guy called Marshall Wong. Duralumin was another person, and they're like great translators. And like, like maybe doing such a complex kind of project like this, you'd worry that maybe like you'd clash over things. But Derek and those guys were just so like cool. And anytime I could ask the translators, like, I'm thinking of wording this sentence a bit differently. So just to add, like, my job was kind of like to make the text so they'd translate it into English, and then I'd work on making it a little bit more like accessible to like English readers.
It's more like a translation versus localization, right? So
and there was quite a lot of that in this game, and a lot of funny things where, like, because obviously Derek's American and I'm English, like, he actually did join in on the editing as well. Like, he did a load of that as well. And like, there was times where he put in like an American phrase, or I'd put in a British phrase, and the other guys would be like, yeah, no, we don't say this in America, or I say we don't say this in Britain. And that's it, because what we want to do is want anyone who speaks English to be able to play this and enjoy it, without any kind of like, oh, I need to Google this, or like, I always give the example for this kind of thing is there's an old Final Fantasy game where a character goes, "You spoony bard," and spoony is a word, and it means kind of like you're over sentimental. Like overly sentimental, and in the context of that line, it makes sense. Except it's an archaic word no one uses anymore. So like when people saw that, they're like, "What's this line? Like, what does it mean?" So there was stuff like that. We had to make sure that when you read this translation, because visual novels are effectively just all text, aren't they? It's a text game. We needed to make sure that like anyone who speaks English can read it and not like be kind of hung up on anything. And I think we did a brilliant job. And you know what, like I thought, we're going to put this out, and like a few guys, nerds like me, love visual novels, are going to enjoy it. But you know what, like so many people we didn't expect were like really intrigued by it. Like people were like, "Oh, I've never played a visual novel, but I'd like to play this." And the Samurai Showdown fan base were like, enthused by it. I mean, Nakaruru as a character is
like a spin-off.
huge,
so Nakaruru is a Samurai Showdown character, and this is like a spin-off, a visual novel spin-off based on that character. The story of that character.
It takes a few liberties, so anyone expecting it to be in the canon of the Samurai Showdown games will be a bit shocked. And I won't go into why. But it's a very like beautiful kind of heartfelt story, really, and it's hard to recommend like a visual novel, because it's kind of like, I wouldn't say to someone who loves books, you should play a visual novel, and I wouldn't say to a gamer you should play a visual novel, because it's sort of that weird middle kind of grey area in the middle. But like we've had people tweet us like, "I finished this game and it was amazing," and like that's like, I know we didn't develop the game. I mean, to be honest, Derek had to hack the game so much. You would have thought he'd developed it. He should be on the list of developers at this point. But the amount of stuff he had to do, like he's amazing. It almost feels like we've kind of,
without you, the game wouldn't reach so many people. So that's an important work.
So that was like a huge thing, and it was really weird because like kind of towards, there was this whole, we're going to do it, we're nearly there, and then there was just like one day where I was chatting to Derek, and he's like, "Yeah, we could release it like today," and I'm like, "What? Like, whoa, I'm not ready for this kind of thing," because like I say, it'd been kind of stewing in the pot for like a year, and we finally released it. So that was genuinely like a really proud moment.
Awesome, that's amazing. And I've been this year, I think, more than in previous ones, I've been paying attention to the translation scene, the fan translation scene. I think because of that recording that you did for the show, for the best of 2022 episode.
Oh yeah.
In the beginning of the season, and you mentioned, for example, Napple Tale, which was a game that I had been wanting to try for a very long time, but I didn't really understand a word of I don't really understand a word of Japanese, so never really gave it a try. And after that, and you said, "Oh, there are a lot of projects coming soon and stuff," and I was really paying attention. So the amount of people in projects, the ongoing projects, the people working on these projects, is kind of amazing. Eh,
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Like it kind of all lends itself into that idea. Like I'm sure you feel this being in the Dreamcast scene with all the indie games coming out. Like
mm,
it feels like the console's current, and it's alive and kicking. And and for us people who you know don't speak Japanese, like when a new translation comes out for something like Napple Tale or Blue Submarine, or I'm trying to think of like a more recent one, like um, Panzer Front, I think it was called, was another one that kind of
mhm.
got released recently. Like, it feels like we're almost getting a new game in that sense because, like, a
Yeah.
game like Napple Tale, a lot of people imported that for many years to play. Mainly, you'd play like the sort of 2.5. Well, it's not even 2.5D; it's a 3D game. But like, you know what I mean? The side-on platformer
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
bits, and that'd be like all you could get out of that. I mean, you could sort of mess around with Google Translate on your phone and stuff, and it could kind of work. But like the translation that they did for that is incredible, and like the amount of character it gives, and actually like the bit I love a lot about that game is kind of exploring and doing like the little errands in the town, which is something that before the translation you would be like, I don't know what anyone's saying. They want me to do that, they want me to get what, like, yeah, like even the imports. And we're lucky with the Dreamcast, like there's so many arcade kind of games that are imports that you could just play without
Yeah.
having to
Yeah.
know the language. But then there's a game like Napple Tale, like I say, where it just it being in English is just so like, we're so lucky to have that, and for the people who put their effort into that, I guess. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
like that'd be close to that top three of Dreamcast games, I'd say.
It is a
Yeah,
really great game. Yeah. It's a really
yeah,
different kind of game, different kind
mm,
of platformer, and and understanding what it's about makes it even more special because you get it, like it's even quirkier than you thought.
yeah,
Judging by the visuals, it is a little quirky and weird, but the story makes it even weirder, and more amazing. So definitely,
yeah,
it's really a welcome translation for sure. And it's nice to see
yeah,
the community as ever, so involved and so passionate
mm,
about creating these amazing projects to improve the Dreamcast experience.
yeah,
Very nice.
definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So and that's my we're talking for a little bit now, Lewis. I want to let you go and don't want to waste more of your time, but I wanted
Oh,
to
not at all,
ask you
not at all.
a couple more questions. The final question about, like, from a proper interview point of view,
Mm,
is, so what's your what do you see, what do you think will be the future of the Dreamcast community going forward? What do you see happening in the future? We already know of a few projects that, in the indie scene that are coming, others are being unveiled. But where are you expecting to see from the community and the indie scene in the future? And how do you see yourself as a member of the Dreamcast Junkyard? Do you see yourself having a lot of work to do, or not really?
I yeah, I mean, I hope so. Like, whenever there's like a day when, it seems like news has died down a little bit, like something happens, you know, like the other day that someone had found a video someone had uploaded 2 years ago of like an unreleased Dreamcast game, and I was like, what? Like, I never saw this before, and yeah, it always seems like there's something happening, and now you've got like publishers like Wave and Pixel Heart they've been going for a long time. Like, there's always like new games coming out, and obviously with more people kind of engaging in the community, like people like Wave have an idea of what kind of games they want to see. So um, I do know there's some good stuff coming out from them. I'm not sure exactly what, but they seem to be pretty excited to
Yeah,
reveal it to
yeah,
us. So yeah, I think you're going to continue to get like new games, and the thing is like they're going to get better and better. Like you know, at one point, like, not to say any of these were bad by any means, they were fantastic, but like we just had like all shooters, you know. Remember there was that era where it's like, oh, there's a new indie game for the Dreamcast, isn't that amazing? And then someone, you know, people, to be honest, like me, would be like, oh, it's another shooter, like we need something different. And then to go from that, you know, to a lot of like 2D output, to see something like Xenocider, like that or trying to think what else you've got, like Arcade Racing Legends, like seeing these kind of these 3D games. And you know, I don't mind them being 3D or not 3D. Like I just love having new games for the Dreamcast. But like, I'd love to see more stuff like we had with Postal, where it's like ports of like big games. And you know, just the other day, I can reveal this because it was in like our Dreamcast Junkyard like public Discord, but the guys from Wave said that like I think 2 of their new releases are like PC ports from like I think it was the 90s, like early 2000s. So that's like really exciting because you know, in a lot of ways the Dreamcast was kind of like a PC port kind of console. So yeah, I want to see that. And like, you know what, like every day, like we're seeing more and more people saying like, oh, the Dreamcast, there's still new games for it, and more and more people seem to be coming to the community. So I feel like you're gonna get more people like Derek, for example. Like one day he popped up and suddenly he's bringing us all these translations. Like you know, we're gonna see more people like that, I think, like talented people. And the thing is like all I do is report on it, and share the love, and that's what I want to continue doing. You know, I want to continue you know, spreading the good news, so to speak, of the community. So yeah, long may it last.
For sure. No, I think we are living in terms of Dreamcast games and the community in exciting times, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Games, products like the VM2, right? And
oh yeah, forgot to mention that. That's incredible.
It's incredible that people are still, you know, they care so much about the system that they are working on things to improve the experience and creating new games as well. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Okay, so anything you would like to say to people listening to us and who for any reason, I can conceive any reason why, but they're not familiar with the Dreamcast Junkyard yet. Let's say, like the one person listening to us who doesn't know about the Junkyard. What would be like your elevator pitch? or what would you say to them?
Yeah, so the Dreamcast Junkyard is kind of a like source for everything you need to know about the Dreamcast, and it's, you know, manned by a very excellent, like passionate team of people. You know, just shout them out. We got Mike, James, Kev, Loz, Andrew, Brian, who's also at the Saturn Junkyard. So yeah, it like there, and so you're going to get like, you know, great articles, whether that be like, you know, the news or you know, just deep dives, and like we always like to kind of go obscure as possible. Yeah, so anyone who's looking for, you know, and if you've been a fan of the Dreamcast ever in your life, or a current fan, and you want to know more about what's going on, like we'll keep you up to date. And we also obviously have the Dream Pod, and I'm going to use this because Mike said it one time, and I'm going to steal it. Is that the podcast is kind of like, imagine the kind of dry humor of the blog in podcast form, basically.
Okay.
And on there, you know, we do interviews. We had an interview with God, I'm terrible. I forgot his name. Edit this bit out. Sorry. Like we've had interviews where we're you know, people like recently we had one with a guy called Dreamcast Enjoyer, who makes some excellent videos on YouTube. and Peter Moore was like a big interview. James and Tom interviewed Peter Moore, obviously the president of SEGA, during the Dreamcast. And so like we do interviews, and then we just have like we have news roundup episodes and just kind of fun, just fun episodes, themed episodes. So if you want to hear us talk about your favorite Dreamcast game, you can hear it on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a great listen. Definitely recommended.
Thank you.
Yeah, and all those links will be in the show notes, so do check them out as well.
Thanks.
People listening in, really recommend it. I mean, it's the Dreamcast website for me. I think for most people, the Dreamcast Junkyard, the blog, the podcast. It's really nice because I struggle to keep up with you guys, because I sometimes see something on the blog and I say, oh, this would be a nice person to interview. But then like 2 days later, oh, this person also did something interesting. And, okay, wait, but I have more things to cover. Wait, I have no time for all of that. So it's really hard to keep up. We're always highlighting awesome stuff and awesome people. So, but yeah, it's really nice to see the work you guys do. Lewis, I have one final question for you. It's always the same one for everyone. Okay. Which is, if you could add blast processing to anything in the world, what would it be and why? And the reason for this question is, back in the 90s, in the US, Sega said the Genesis had blast processing. Whatever it was, made the console faster and more powerful than the competition. So if you could add blast processing to anything in the world, what would it be and why?
This is I don't know if anyone's ever said this answer before, and I hope this isn't a boring answer, but like I have ADHD, so my answer is me. Like, I would like to have blast processing, because that would make I'd just function like so much better, and I would churn out so many like fantastic articles. Like every day you'd get a new article from me, and you'd never be able to escape the output from the Dreamcast Junkyard, because it'd just be non-stop. But yeah, like that's the first thing I thought of was, what would I need? I was like, I think I could do with some blast processing. So that's my answer. I hope that's not like a boring answer.
No, I would do the same if it really was a real thing, which it is, of course it is. But I would include it in some part of me, like my brain or something, probably. Get like more energy and focus, and for sure.
We're getting older, aren't we? So we need that energy where we can get it.
Tell me about it. Yeah. And on that really, really sad and depressing note, Lewis, thank you so much for coming on the SEGA Lounge.
Thank you. Like, I just want to say, like, I really appreciate it, because your podcast is fantastic, and I loved your recent episode with the tech toy guy. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name.
Stefano,
like that's an interview I wanted to hear. So like, thank you for always doing this excellent podcast and keeping it going. And obviously Radio Sega is fantastic as well. So I really appreciate you and feel very honored to be here. Thank you very much.
My honor. Thank you very much. And I hope to get Stefano back to talk a little bit about the Dreamcast days. So we were a little short on time. So I told him I want to have you back next season or something to discuss the later years of
definitely
and talk about the Dreamcast times and whatnot. But thank you very much for listening as well. Appreciate that, and keep up the good work, because you guys inspire us, and I definitely want to have you back, Lewis, to talk about more stuff, because there's always more Dreamcast stuff to talk about.
Yeah, thanks for listening to me ramble. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming. Yeah,
it's been a blast. Thank you.
It was an honor to bestow upon Lewis the amazing seal. I hope you enjoyed getting to know more about him, and be sure to check out the Dreamcast Junkyard, which is truly the #1 source for everything about Sega's final console. It's pretty amazing how active and alive the community and the system still are, and there's no place like the Junkyard to get up to speed with the latest news. If you're listening to the Sega Lounge for the very first time, please consider following the podcast on your app of choice, and if you're enjoying the show, feel free to leave us a positive review to help spread the word about the podcast. Next week, we're doing another live episode, which will be broadcast on both Radio Sega and Twitch, the latter obviously in video form. We're discussing Sonic Superstars and another interesting Sega topic, so do check it out live on Thursday, November 2nd from 8 p.m. UK time if you want to join the conversation and have your comments read on air. Again, follow twitch.tv/The Sega Lounge to get notified when we go live. Thank you so much for listening to this week's show. Have a great week, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. The Sega Lounge, hosted by me, KC, and part of Radio Sega's network of live shows and podcasts. Theme song and incidental music by OSC. Find them at opussciencecollective.bandcamp.com. Got any suggestions? Drop me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com. Find us at The Sega Lounge on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find previous episodes of the show by going to thesegalounge.com and wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. A Mixed On Productions podcast.